today's question actually was about how to implement row and column level security in the reporting layer, which is, I think, a really important topic. I think it's one of the basic things you should organize when you start your data project or your data warehousing project. So yeah, really interesting topic. And I think we should go over it shortly. So in general, why do you need row level and attribute level security in your data warehouse? Normally pretty simple, right? Not all users should see all the data. So for example, the sales department of Germany maybe shouldn't see other regions' customers, right? So for example, if you're a sales representative in Germany, maybe you should not see the customers of France or something like this. Then you have some fields for attribute level security, right? When we talk about that just are confidential. For example, revenue or salary of employees, which must be hidden from certain roles or certain users in the data warehouse, so not everybody can see it. And then just in general, hard-coded security in the end does not really scale, right? If you do it in every Power BI report or dashboard, you will have a lot of work to maintain that and implement that. And these rules often change. So normally users from the department change, but also just in general, the rules who has access can change a lot. So this is why we in the end use access control lists. I hope most of you have heard of that. Pretty simple concept. In the end, what you do is you have lists in the best case in your master data system, if your company has something like that. If not, maybe in some reference data, or if you're a smaller company, could be even an Excel file that you read in, right? And there you in the end have users or user groups. So for example, in this one, corp stands for corporation, right? Normally you have your domain there, and then you have different groups. For example, BI read DACH or BI read EMEA, and they get attached to a certain value. For example, a country, or in this case, a region code, right? The DACH region or the EMEA region. And this in the end makes the security possible, right? Because you map users or user groups. Normally, I would always do it through groups, because with users you will have way too much overhead to get all that straight. And this in the end you just map through it, attributes. And then you can really easily filter that in your information mart views. So you don't need to do it in Power BI anymore, for example, or in your reporting tool, because the view, when you select it, already does that. How do you do that? You can see it on the screen now. In the end, you just put in a simple where clause, where you select this ACL list, access control list, right? And then you filter and use whatever. It depends a little bit on the database you use, right? How the SQL will look like, but you would just have I think in every database, you can just select your user group through some session context. And then you filter through that, and like that, you can make it possible, for example, in this case, that the customer data gets filtered, and that, for example, your EMEA users only sees customers that are in the EMEA region. Really simple. The same goes for attribute level security. There, I mean, it works a little bit different, because you map it based on a column, right? For example, revenue or margin or salary, which only certain people are allowed to read. And then you have normally deny, read, or could be more, but normally these two, right? That you map with that. So for example, and then in this case that we see here, you have again the DACH team. They are not allowed to read the revenue field, because it's a sales team in the end, in this case. And then you have the EMEA team, which are allowed to read the revenue, because they are a finance team, right? So this is essentially how you do it. And then again, the using is really simple. In your view, you just create a case when, and based on that, the user is able to see this row, this column, or even not, right? This is normally pretty standard concepts. A few things about that. So first of all, I think this should not get managed by the data warehouse team, right? So for sure should be with reporting or governance to manage these control lists and to also have the possibility to put in the values on their own. They should maybe you have a master data system where they can just go in the list on their own, put in these values. You as a warehouse or IT team, you don't really want the overhead with that. The other thing is nowadays we use a lot of tools, right? You have automation tools, and with that stuff, you can really automate this process, right? You don't need to write always these selects. Normally, you should have some process in place. For example, in my current project, we do it with dbt. We have a security macro written that you can just enable or disable for view over a really easy macro call. And then depending on that, the security gets either queried or not. And these access control lists, they're all standardized. It's really easy to do, and yeah, I think that should be the standard. You should not write every view by hand and create this control lists, because if you do that, you will forget it a lot of times. It will cause problems. Then you need to do it afterwards and all this. So try to standardize it with your automation tool and just get a simple call for that, or if it's in a certain schema that should be added or something like that, right? Because normally you just want it in the last layer, an information mud layer of your data warehouse. Yeah, I think that would be it for today's session already. Thank you very much for joining, guys. Have a great Friday, great weekend, and see you next week.